But Kamala's actions as the border czar are especially egregious. It's a betrayal of the brave men and women who devote their lives to securing our borders. They are treated so badly, so badly. They are treated so badly. It's so horrible. They're heroes, but they're not treated like heroes. But you know, I tell them all the time, the people know you're heroes. It's the radical left lunatics that don't treat them properly. I call them the heroes of ICE and the heroes of Border Patrol. They're incredible. And these courageous patriots, they risk their lives to keep America safe and our borders secure. And then Kamala came along and demanded that they aid and abet the invasion of our country, which really is what they're told to do, which they have dedicated their lives to prevent. And they are not happy. And she only bothered, if she only just did this, all she had to do is go to the border for the first time. You know, it took her, 3.5 years to go there? And then she went to a place that I'd love to go for dinner sometime with you people. She never went. She didn't go to the border for the whole time. It was a great insult. And I used to call them all the time. In fact, they thought I was a pain in the ass. I'd call them, how's the border going, fellas? How's it going, Art? How's it going, Brandon? How we doing? Paul, how we doing, Paul? How's the border, Paul? They would get my call. They say, this guy, he's crazy. No, I was not crazy. I want to have a strong border. And that's why we had that beautiful chart. My favorite chart in history. I sleep with it. I kiss it. Even if that chart had bad numbers, I would have loved that chart. That was my all-time favorite. Every night I take it to bed with me. I kiss it. But today I'm honored to receive, and this was an honor that I didn't know about till very recently, the endorsement, because it's very hard for them to do this, you know. It's very hard for them to do this. But the endorsement of the official union of the Border Patrol agents, the entire union is endorsing it. It's a great honor. They said it was unanimous, thousands of people. Thank you. And they have thousands of people. They said it was unanimous. And I will say I have the endorsement of almost every single law enforcement group, sheriffs and police, the Fraternal Order, 400,000. And it's hard for them to do endorsements. You know, it's not an easy thing to do, but there comes a point when you have really no choice. I'd like to thank the former president of the National Border Patrol, a friend of mine, Council Brandon. It's an incredible council, actually. Brandon Judd, who's here someplace. Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. And I'd like to formally introduce the new president of the council, another friend. They become friends of yours. It's like you're in a war together. When I was here, when I was running things, that border was a big deal to me. We wouldn't let people in. We had a year, would be 2019, where they said zero, and I think they were wrong on this, to be honest. They said 0 terrorists came in, 0. The following year, they said 11. Now they have thousands of terrorists pouring into our country. These are stone-cold, hardened terrorists. Bad things are going to happen. We're going to get them the hell out of here before they do, I'll tell you. But the new president of the council, another great friend of mine, is Paul Perez, and he joined by a very highly respected man, Art Del Cueto. Art Del Cueto, Vice President. And maybe we could ask them to come on up. We're also joined very proudly today by a large delegation of our nation's frontline border agents. These are incredible people. So let's show our appreciation for their unbelievable service to our country.
America, I have a message for you. If we allow Border Czar Harris to win this election, every city, every community in this great country is going to go to hell. The untold millions of people, unvetted, who she has allowed into this country that are committing murders, rapes, robberies, burglaries, and every other crime will continue to put our country in peril. Only one man can fix that. That is Donald J. Trump. He has always stood with the men and women who protect this border, who put their lives on the line for the country. A man who knows about putting his life on the line for what is right. This November, we have a choice to make. Continue the chaos. Allow the criminal cartels to control the border, to allow drugs and fentanyl across our country, or put an end to it once and for all. On behalf of the 16,000 men and women represented by the National Border Patrol Council, we strongly support and endorse Donald J. Trump for President of the United States.
Good job. I got to tell you, I was a little worried. He got up, he had no notes. He didn't have a teleprompter. I can understand that. I don't use it too much either. And it is nice to have people that don't need teleprompters, isn't it? But he got up here. And he had no notes, and you gave a perfect deal. I think we're going to all have to go back inside. That was a good job. Did he do a good job? Look at all these Border Patrol and ICE. They're great heroes. And I want to let you know, Paul, I want to just tell you and everybody, all my friends, I have so many of them in this group. It's an incredible group of people. I will always stand with the incredible men and women of Border Patrol. And today I'm announcing a plan to address the shortage. You know, we have a tremendous shortage because they haven't been treated right. They want to do their jobs. You know, they consider it bad treatment when you're not allowed to do your job. And that's the biggest problem. They don't want people running in front of them. They want to stop them from coming in. And that's going to save a lot of people, including the people they're stopping. But to address the shortage of Border Patrol agents caused by the catastrophic failures of Kamala, our great border czar, who's the worst in history. We have a tremendous morale crisis because of her and her policies. I mean, think of it. Not one of the leaders, you have all the leaders up here, you have all the leaders in the room, you have Brandon right over there, was a leader for a long time, brilliantly the leader, never got a call from them. Not Biden, he was sleeping, and not her. No, not her, she never called. Never once. I saw this. I didn't ask them. I saw this. And a reporter asked, Paul, have you ever been called? No, I haven't. How can you do that? Most important thing. It's the fabric and lifeblood of our country, and they're destroying our country, and and these are the people in charge. So there's a big morale problem, and she ruined the jobs of a lot of these border agents. They went after people, remember? With the horses. Do you remember that? Do you remember? That was a terrible thing. It turned out that they were totally wrong, but they went after a lot of other people, very innocent people. They go after those people, but they don't go after the criminals that are coming in to kill. They don't go after them. So in order to meet the goal of hiring 10,000 new agents, we need the agents. We need them badly. And keeping our incredible veteran agents on the force. Don't leave us. Raise your right hand. You're not going to leave. You're not going to leave. Don't leave us, fellas. I don't have to worry about them. They're very committed people. If we paid them nothing, they're not leaving. They want to save our country. They're going to save our country. But after I win, I will be asking Congress immediately to approve a 10% raise. I haven't had one in a long time for all agents. And a $10,000 each retention and signing bonus. So we're going to retain them. We're going to retain them. It's almost like being a great baseball player or football player, but not quite as much money, but not bad, right? No, we're going to retain them, and they deserve it. They've been treated unbelievably badly, and the fact that they continue. And you don't hear they're going out on strike. They're going to this, they don't do that. They would never do it. They're just incredible people. This will ensure that we can hire and keep the Border Patrol agents that we need to keep, and we can also bring in a lot of new ones, really great ones, and we're going to have our choice. I think we're going to have our choice. There's going to be a whole new spirit. This is a group that really needs spirit because they're protecting us, they're protecting our lives, they're protecting our country. So we're going to be doing that. And while you guys are up here, I also want to introduce a great guy and a very big man in the world of law enforcement, national president of the Fraternal Order of Police, Patrick Yose, representing 400,000 law enforcement, largest in the country by far, law enforcement officers, and I'm truly honored to have their endorsement as well. Patrick, thank you, wherever you may be. Thank you, Patrick. That's really nice. I'd have you up here, but I don't think Secret Service will allow anybody to get through this. It's gotten a little tight. That's good. That's supposed to be that way. Patrick, thank you. 400,000. Wow. That's great. I think we have every law enforcement group in the United States, the sheriffs. They're incredible people, and they really do. It's easier for them not to do their job. They want to work like hell, and they want to clean out our country and straighten out our country. And we want to have people in our country that love our country. They love our country. And we're going to have that. And despite all of the damage that Kamala has inflicted on the state, and, you know, don't forget, she's the vice president, right? But Joe gave her the assignment, and so I don't even mention his name. I'm not even sure what is he doing. Although he's looked very good lately. He's looked better than her, actually. No, I've always said, I'm not a big fan of his, as you probably have heard, but he's superior to her. He's more intelligent than she is. Can you believe? You ever think you'd be hearing that? And I mean it. But she said last week that she can't think of one thing that she would do differently. Not one thing. Think of it, not one thing. So, fellas, you stay up here. Just look at this one tape, and then you go back and enjoy it. But I just want to tell you, you are phenomenal people. We love you all, and you're doing a great job for our country. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
I stood there on the tarmac watching you check your watch.
The chaotic and deadly U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan stunned Americans and the world and cost the lives of 13 U.S. soldiers.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
More than 13,000 illegal immigrants convicted of murder have been caught at the border and then released into the United States.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
Gut-wrenching new details in the murder of Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national who crossed the unsecured southern border back in 2022.
Two men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder in the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
A fifth illegal immigrant accused of attacking two New York City police officers over the weekend showed no remorse or regret.
Would you have done something differently?
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Only 18% say the economy is in excellent or good condition. US inflation has hit a new 40-year high, increasing by 9.1% over the financial year.
The cost of homes have spiked. Home buyers need to earn 80% more than they did in 2020 to afford a house.
Were you the last person in the room? Yes.
Appreciate it, Paul. Thank you. Thank you. You be blessed, sir. You be blessed. Great job. You'll do it. Okay. I'll have you. Thanks. Great people. By the way, I see a couple of other people. Do you mind if I introduce to Cash? Stand up, Cash. Cash Patel. And I spotted him. You had no problems when he was in charge. You know who that is? Sheriff Joe. Sheriff Joe! Oh, stand up. Oh. Brandon, sign him up immediately. Paul, you got to sign him up immediately. Sheriff Joe. Well, you didn't have any problems with Sheriff Joe. He was tough and fair. You know what? He was actually very fair. He was amazing. Thank you very much, Sheriff Joe. I just saw you here. I would have had you come up. But you are a special guy. Thank you. He had a wonderful wife. He just lost his wife a little while ago, but she was a wonderful woman, and she's looking down at you. You couldn't have made her life too easy, I could guarantee you that. But she loved you, Sheriff Joe, so you take care of yourself, okay? Great guy. So the answer that she would do nothing different is totally disqualifying. So think of it. We have the worst president in the history of our country by far. The happiest man is Jimmy Carter because he was brilliant by comparison. His administration is considered now brilliant by comparison. We have the worst. And she says that she would do nothing different than the worst president that we've ever had. We have a right track, wrong track, where he sets a record every week for the wrong track. And she says that because it wasn't that she really meant that. What she really wanted to do, but she couldn't think of anything. When I heard that question, I said, oh, this is going to be a bad answer for me. Meaning she's going to knock this one out of the park. And she said, no, I want to be the same as Joe Biden. Anybody that votes for her, you should have your head examined. She'll want to know the truth. "86% of the country thinks we're on the wrong track." And she says, no, I do everything the same. Keep the airplanes flying. You know the worst thing? And I'll bring this up a little separately. 325,000 young children are probably dead or missing, but certainly missing. And they're either sex slaves, or they're dead. Think of the number. It's not 2, which is too many. It's not 100. It's 325,000 lives are probably gone. Their parents will never get to see them again. And these are people that she allowed just as if she had a gun in her hand, okay? And for that woman to be running for president is a disgrace, and everybody knows it. How can you keep someone who's stated plainly and clearly that she will change absolutely nothing from Biden? Kamala is turning us into a third world nation. Weaponization. How about the weaponization? I've been investigated more than the great Alphonse Capone, late great. Do you guys know Alphonse Capone, Scarface? This is a rough guy. I don't know. He may be even too tough for Paul. I don't know, Paul. This is a tough one. Alphonse Capone, Scarface. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. It's called the weaponization of the Justice Department. And we've never had it. This was a third world, happens all the time in the third world, banana republics. It happened in the United States. And can you believe I'm leading? Who the hell, where did it happen where you're leading? Because the people get it. They get it. All my life, I never had a problem. Now my beautiful parents are up in heaven. I think they are. Even my father made it there. He could be rough, but I think because he was a good person, strong, tough, but he was a good person. My mother, guaranteed. She's a guaranteed. But they're up there looking down. They say, how did this happen to my son? You know, I could have been on the most beautiful beaches in the world right now. I could have been enjoying a life, the waves smacking me in the face, my beautiful mane of hair blowing in the breeze. No hairspray, no hairspray necessary. The most beautiful places in the world. I own some of the greatest clubs. I could have had the greatest life. But I'd rather be in Arizona with you and these people all day long because we're going to make America great again. Right? Right? Thank you. With our victory, we will become the greatest, strongest, freest, and safest, and the most powerful nation again in the world. We're not considered a great nation right now, but we're going to be a great nation again, and it's not going to take long. I will quickly defeat inflation, and we will make America affordable again. We're going to have to do that. It's not affordable. And you know what people bring up more than anything? Simple things like groceries. They say groceries. Who would think that? Groceries. But they bring it up. Cars. They do a lot of different, everything basically. Look, we had the worst inflation, I think, they say in 48 years, I think ever. There's never been anything like it. And they don't even put the really bad, like as an example, we had interest rates at 2%. They went up to 10%. Well, they don't include that. They don't include many things. And by the way, at 10% you can't get the money, so obviously it's much higher than 10%. For all of the working people struggling under Kamala's inflation nightmare, we will have large tax cuts for workers. We're going to have beautiful additional tax cuts, including no tax on tips. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. And no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors. And you deserve it. You know, the seniors have suffered because they're on fixed income, many of them, and the inflation has made it impossible. Everything they've taken in, and it's just gone. They're wiped out, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to let that. Then they're supposed to pay tax yet. By contrast, Kamala Harris is known as the taxing queen. She loves taxes. She's the only one I've ever seen. She campaigns on the fact that she wants to give you a 70% tax increase. Her plan will raise your typical American family taxes by at least $3,000 a year, congratulations, and run a bad and unsafe government. I also announced last week that we will make interest payments on cars, loans. We're going to make them tax deductible first time. Because affording a car is essential to restoring the American dream, which we're going to restore. You know, friends of mine called me and they said, some of the biggest analysts, the greatest analysts on Wall Street, brilliant guys, where did you ever come up with the idea of deducting interest? You know, it's like the paperclip. It was developed about 125 years ago. Some guy took a little, and he made the paperclip. And everybody says, oh, man, why didn't I think of that, right? It's like deductibility. It's going to be incredible because you'll sell a lot more cars, and we're going to protect our car business now. We're going to protect them. Made in the USA, and we don't have to go through it, but made in the USA, and we're going to protect them with tariffs. I do have to tell you one quick story. You don't mind if I never go back on the teleprompter again, do you? No, I watch Paul, and I say, damn it, I don't think I'm supposed to use the teleprompter anymore, Carrie. You know? I watch the way. So I've been telling you a story for about a year that in Mexico, they're building some of the biggest car plants anywhere in the world. And I told you about a friend of mine who's a brilliant guy, but especially when it comes to building a car plant. With other things, he's not so good, but he can build a computerized car plant. It's unbelievable. So I saw him about 4 or 5 months ago, and I said, you know, I want you to take me on a tour of one of your plants. He's the biggest builder of plants in the world. I want you, so you'll be able to figure them out if you really want to. I don't think the fake news, wow, that's a lot of fake news back there. That's a lot of cameras. I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice. That's a lot of fake news. Holy mackerel. Look at those red lights go off. Those red lights, those suckers are going off. Every time I do that, those lights go off because they don't want me to call them corrupt and horrible people. You can let them go back on now. I'll get off. No, I just looked up. That's a lot of cameras. Who the hell can do this 2-3 times a day? One little mistake. If I pronounce a word slightly wrong, and I tend not to go back because I don't want to go back. I don't want to say, excuse me, let me go. I like to bull through it. So I speak for hours, mostly without a teleprompter, really mostly. One mispronunciation of a word. He's cognitively impaired. He's getting old. He's getting old. He mispronounced a word like the name of the gang, if I did. I think I got it perfectly, didn't I? But if they see any, they watch for weeks and weeks. For weeks and weeks, I'm up here ranting and raving. Last night, 100,000 people, flawless, ranting and raving. I'm ranting and raving. Not a mistake. And then I'll be at a little thing and I'll say something a little bit like I'll say, duh. They'll say, he's cognitively impaired. No, I'll let you know when I will be. I will be someday. We all will be someday, but I'll be the first to let you know. But when you can do this 3-4 times a day, and you can go from site to site, from Arizona to Pennsylvania to Michigan, right? And then you have some little writer at the New York Times who's been really bad lately. They follow every single word. Did he get, wait a minute. He said something wrong. I actually say things very right, and they'll use the same story but belittle it like it doesn't exist, but it all exists. But they love it, because Biden was obviously cognitively impaired. She should have reported him because that puts our nation in danger. We've never been so close to being in World War III than we are right now. And don't kid yourself, we have an election coming up, but we still have like 3.5 months left. And it's a long time in a nuclear world. And that would be a war like no other. And I'm not thrilled about the people representing us, even for a short period of time. But I just have to say, because you read so much, and now some people say he's the single greatest speaker of all time. Because you know what? Nobody's ever, I actually asked that question. Hundreds of thousands of people show up, and I assume it's for my looks. But I say, I said it today to Brandon. I said, Brandon, it's funny. I look outside, you could fill this place up 3 times. If anybody would like to give up your seat, please. But outside it's packed. We put up television screens now. But I said to Brandon just a little while ago, I said, I draw all these people. I don't think I've ever had a story that Trump is a great speaker. I hear about great speakers like Churchill. I hear about a lot of great speakers. But I've never heard that Trump is a great... now I'm in trouble, because you know what they're going to do? He's comparing himself to Winston Churchill. No, that's what they'll do, Andy, right? That's what they'll do. They'll say, he's comparing himself. He was angry about... No. I've never had a story that I'm... And there's a reason these crowds are coming. And someday they're going to figure... She said, because we love you, and I love you too. That's why I come. She said that. How good is that? Where is that woman? Stand up. Oh, stand up. Look at her. Wow. I would say that's beautiful. Is she your wife? You know what? I would say she's a beautiful woman, but if I did say that, my political career, you're not allowed to say that. So I'm not allowed to call you a beautiful woman, but she is. So, I'm crazy what's gone on. Have to be politically correct nowadays. And we're going to have something about our military talking about being politically correct, because we have a great military. I knocked out ISIS. I knocked out ISIS so fast. To bring jobs and factories and wealth racing back to our shores. we will have a 15% made in America corporate tax rate. Now you have to understand, I brought it down from almost 40%. And these are corporations. They don't have to be in our country. You know, in the old days, they'd move from state to state. Now they move from country to country. Every country wants our corporations. So we have to treat them good. Kamala wants to take their taxes and raise them. And you know what they do? They'll say, that's okay. Let's go to Ireland. You know, the pharmaceutical industry moved to Ireland. Let's go to Europe. Let's go to Asia. Let's go to China. They want them so badly. So I moved it from 39, almost 40%, down to 21% and got it approved in Congress. But that doesn't make us great. It makes us good. It makes us competitive, sort of more than competitive. It was good. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country when I did that. We took in more revenue at 21 than we did at 39, which was amazing. People were pouring in. But here's what we're doing now. I'm moving it down to 15%, but only for those people who make their products in America. And in other words, a company, and by the way, you're going to see companies pouring back into our country. Somebody said, what are you going to do about the debt? We have a lot of debt, a lot of debt. And we were doing this, and then we got the China virus stuff, and that came out of nowhere. And we had to focus on that because people, and I wasn't really, other countries suffered so badly. Other countries, proportionally, they suffered worse than us. Who suffered worse than us proportionally? It's China. So, it's like one of those things. But, so we had to focus on that. We did a great job in that. We never got credit. We never got credit for that, but we did a great job on that. Nobody knew what the hell it was. It came in. Our famous operation, they call it Operation Warp Speed. Operation Warp Speed gets military credit for being one of the most incredible things that they've ever seen, distribution of things. But we did a great job, and we got that. We handed over a country that was better. The stock market was higher than it was just previous to COVID coming in. So we did a great job. But we were in the process of doing this, and a friend of mine called up from Wall Street. He's considered a brilliant analyst. He said, like the other one, he said, where did you come up with the idea of taking it down, but only for companies that make their product? He said, that's a great idea. Can you imagine? You have all these 185 IQ people on Wall Street. That's sort of the ultimate. I think they say, you know who the smartest person they say in history was? Albert Einstein. He said Trump. I agree with him. He said Trump. My uncle, Dr. John Trump, MIT, 40 years. That's pretty smart. He was smart. My uncle was very smart. He used to tell me things a long time ago about nuclear. He said, someday, son, they'll have a weapon that you'll be able to carry into a building like a handbag, and it will blow up New York City. I said, Uncle John, that's never going to happen. He's the longest serving professor in the history of MIT, like 40 years or 41 years. Can you imagine? So this is good. Does anybody believe in genes? You guys believe in genetics? These guys have good genetics, too, for safety, and that's all we want you for. We don't want you for anything else. We don't want you for anything else.